reckon all time in the future from the day of the man-child's death. George Jackson, August 9, 1970. Free my brother, free my sister, free my people. Oh, I'm free now.
This is Angela Davis, December 5th, 1970, speaking to you through the concrete walls and iron bars of the Women's House of Detention in New York, where I am being held captive, victim of a gigantic frame-up, with not even a modicum of evidence to substantiate the accusations. I have been charged with murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy in connection with the events at San Rafael, August 7th. As I participated in the fight against America's repressive penal institutions, particularly in the defense of the Soledad brothers, I frequently warned that any one of us involved in the movement against racism, poverty, and war could be the next object of the Nixon-Reagan policy of repression. Little did I realize then that I would soon be paid off with an attempt to legally murder me. This is one more step in the direction of fascism. These are times that demand fearlessness, boldness, and courage from us all. These are times which summon us, the people, to reach down within ourselves and unleash that tremendous reservoir of power which will inevitably overturn the enemies of the people. But we, the people, are the agents of history. We, black people, Puerto Ricans, Chicanos, students, revolutionary workers, revolutionary women, we are moving with the progressive currents of history. If the Soledad brothers are to be freed, if Erica, Bobby, and I are to be the recipients of justice in the courtroom, if the masses of black people are to cease being the victims of a corrupt judiciary, of jail, and prison, it will only be because millions of people have made it clear to the government of this country that they are prepared to use every means in their power to gain freedom and justice for all oppressed people. I love Angela Davis, and I love all my sisters, because I am a revolutionary. Long live the spirit of Jonathan Jackson. Free Erica, Bobby, free the Soledad brothers, free all political prisoners. what does Lenin mean when he talks about the socialization of production? So that's a pretty important, concept.
Could he mean that the production becomes, because of the concentration, they can actually tell, forecast what the needs are, how much raw materials there are, and...
Well, before we get into a discussion on that, as far as the board of directors of U.S. Steel, one of the most powerful monopolies in this country now. Now, there are 16 men on the board of directors, and those 16 men are not only on the board of directors for U.S. Steel, but are also directors or trustees for 20 major industrials, 16 men now, 18 banks, 11 insurance companies, 9 railroads, 8 utilities, 5 universities, and 3 charitable foundations. So it becomes a little bit clear exactly what Lenin is talking about when he talks about, the total concentration of capital in the hands of very, very few men.
2 people from Broadway Hill, and there happens to be a regent that's connected with Broadway Hill. And you see how the Bank of America is very tied up with the agribusiness. They finance half of the agribusiness in the state. They happen to have 956 minus 2 banks in the state right now. Also connected with some food company. I'm not sure of it. It's not United Fruit. And this company happens to be very tied up with the mafia. But yeah, he happens to be on the board of directors of Bank of America too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be possible probably to do research on, not only in Bank of America, but Chase Manhattan and all of the big banks and big, industrial companies in this country, and find that they're, very much interconnected. During the break, those of you who are going to do the, oral, it's going to be on Tuesday and Thursday.
There's enough well on it. Better balance that.
No, you're still the chief of that. And donate the money to the fans.
I'd like to really get into the hot water.
Yeah.
That's my only.
Well, no, I mean...
Here, there wasn't any trouble made about that, was there?
No, that wasn't exactly.
Well,
Exactly. It wasn't exactly.
He should be sort of, you say, John.
No, I mean, okay, we'll have a discussion. It's the whole idea that I'm not just going to, sit back and be some kind of mysterious force judging according to these mysterious standards, and then all of a sudden an A pops out, or a B pops out, or a C pops out, and we'll, we could have some discussion about it,
And it's just 15 minutes, of an oral final. And everybody seemed to go for it in the other class because they thought it was discuss something that they found particularly relevant to them.
And then also, this whole grading system is just, it's just a mirror of this whole capitalist system, I think. And I don't know, not knowing anything about, say, one of you, and not knowing, the kinds of lives that you've led, and not knowing the kinds of things that you're, interested in, where you're coming to, and, asserting this kind of external standard, and giving you a grade is, perhaps from my particular perspective, which might not, be quite the right one according to certain people.
Professor Kalish, why did you hire Angela Davis?
Well, I'd like to tell you that it was a great communist conspiracy, but the treachery is something like the treachery of the international communist conspiracy. When Johnson needed it, it just didn't exist, and that's the same thing that's true here. We needed someone in the fields of existentialism, continental European philosophy, Marxism, because our professor who had filled that role had been killed in an automobile accident a few years ago, and we had never really replaced him with somebody of equal competence in that field. Thomas Davis, coming from a minority community and being extremely qualified in those areas with her European education, was appropriate for the kind of appointment our department was looking for.
Who raised the issue of communism?
The issue of communism was not raised until several months after Miss Davis was employed. On July 1st of 1969, that span between March and July, on July 1st, the Daily Bruin, the student paper, published an article by a declared undercover agent named Diwali, who had been a student also at UCLA. In this article, Mr. Diwali said that the philosophy department had just hired a communist. And then he went on to argue that really they should have done this. It was a strange article. The San Francisco Examiner, a few days later, also carried an article about a communist being hired at UCLA. And shortly after that, in my role as chairman of the department, I was asked by the administration to come in and discuss these two articles and whether I thought there was any foundation in either of them. The next really major step was forced by the Board of Regents, which ordered our chancellor to formally inquire of Miss Davis in writing whether or not she was a member of the Communist Party. And in her reply, she first indicated that she felt the question was out of order, inappropriate, indecent, but that since it had been asked, she certainly was one who had no shame of responding to any question put to her. And she then informed the chancellor that she indeed was a member of the Communist Party. This was, I'd say, sometime in the middle of the summer.
Angela Davis is the only avowed communist on the University of California. Are there any unavowed communists?
Well, if they're unavowed, I wouldn't know about them unless I too were a communist, and then I couldn't tell you. But to my knowledge, there are none.
So essentially what I said is, yes, I'm a member of the Communist Party, I belong to an all-black collective, which is struggling for black liberation, and I'm going to tell you that I'm dedicated to fighting you, and I'm going to stand up, and I'm going to be honest. But if we don't fight now, we'll never be able to put into practice that slogan, which I think crystallizes what we're talking about, and that is all power to the people.
Question, but this is a black community, so we're going to end with a black person. One more black person.
And how do you, what is some of the background that you deal with this? And, where communism just completely shatters everything.
The fact that one more black person makes it means generally that one more black person is going to be exploited, is going to be subjected to more oppression in society. I realize the fact that I've been able to go to school, the fact that I've been able to get a job like I have only at the expense of the struggles that, my brothers and sisters in the streets have been putting up every day. Therefore, I can't say that I'm going to defend my job no matter what. I've gotten up here and I want to, protect my own individual self. I see that my people have fought for me to be where I am now, and I have to fight for my people. Can't just tell people about capitalism. People have to understand the reasons why. See, one of the things that the Regents said they were afraid of was indoctrination. But what they've been doing is indoctrinating for such a long period of time. Yeah, right. And if we're going to talk about fighting capitalism, we have to talk about people being educated and understanding the reasons and the necessity to fight capitalism.
How is capitalism costly?
Well, I tried to say that, one of the things that happened during slavery was that it was necessary to justify the fact that a group of human beings were being subjected to such abject conditions, were being forced to live as animals, by saying that black people are inferior.
How about today?
Well, obviously, if you look at statistics, black people have a much higher unemployment rate, much higher underemployment rate, if you look at the conditions in the ghettos, and racism serves to justify the continued existence of these conditions.
But how would you specifically end it?
Well, see, I don't have any overall blueprint. I don't have any overall solution. I say that we have to get involved in the struggle in which we directly attack the ruling class in this country.
No, I'll get in touch with you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm a lot of grants.
Oh, come on. You want to put to it? You used to call me Angela. You call me Molly.
No, this is great. You know that?
Yeah.
Oh, you're great. This is another match, Miss Madeline.
Yeah, we alive. You know, so we can be able to fight when the odds are more favorable toward us.
Directed by Attorney General Mitchell, it's been issued to Yorty. That conspiracy has been agreed to by Ronald Reagan, and Chief of Police Davis is carrying that conspiracy out. Now, what is that conspiracy? Brothers and sisters, this is genocide. We have to call it by its name. This is genocide. It's a systematic attempt to exterminate a people. At the conclusion of the attack on Monday, the police attack on the Black Panther Party office on Monday morning, fascism is here. And the courageous warriors of the Black Panther Party have been struck down over and over again in fighting this fascism. And I think we have to say right here today that the Black Panther Party is no longer alone. We are going to defend the party. We have to defend the community. We have to defend ourselves. And we have to demand the immediate release of the brothers and sisters who were arrested on Monday, of Black Panthers all over the country and all political prisoners. We have to have a people's investigation committee which is going to reveal the facts as they are to the people. And this People's Investigation Committee is going to have to organize and mobilize the people to make sure that this building, the City Hall, does not function, even if it means occupying it, does not function until they call out their kids from our community. And let me say one final thing, brothers and sisters. Although the mass organizing of these people is our most immediate task, this conspiracy to commit murder and genocide on our people forces us to exercise our constitutional right to bear arms and to use those arms to defend our community, our families, and ourselves, cars and people. And that's why in Cuba, as I was saying, young people who were not old enough to participate in the seizure of power in the Revolutionary War consider themselves revolutionaries because they're all engaged in a collective effort to build a new society. In the Battle of Algiers, one of the revolutionaries, said something to that effect, which I think was perhaps one of the most profound statements in the entire film, when he says that it's very difficult to organize for revolution. It's even more difficult to keep that revolutionary struggle moving, to sustain it. It's extremely difficult to win the revolutionary struggle, but the most difficult thing, the most difficult task comes afterwards, after you've been able to seize power, after you've destroyed the oppressor, and when you have to set about the task of building a new world.
And on what level? If you were, did it simply on the economic level?
Well, obviously, the first thing that you have to do is to see to it that the basic needs of the people are satisfied, to see to it that everybody has enough to eat, clothing, shelter. But that's only the presupposition for building that new society. You know, that thing that Che called the new man, a completely different kind of psychological attitude. And the most important thing to realize when we talk about building a new society, building a new man, is that it's not something that's abstract, that you receive power and then all of a sudden after the revolution, when you have power, you draw up a blueprint of what the new man is going to look like, and you go on to build it. But Shay made the very important point that the society that you're going to build is already reflected in the nature of the struggle that you're carrying out. And that's and one of the most important things in relationship to that is the building of a collective spirit. You know, getting away from this individualistic orientation, you know, towards life. A lot of people talk about, you know, political involvement versus personal salvation, personal involvement, you know, versus one's own subjectivity. One of the most important things that has to be done in the process of carrying out a revolutionary struggle is to merge those two different levels, to merge the personal with the political, where they're no longer separate. I met Franklin and Kendra out here, and you know, I sort of considered myself a Marxist for a long time, and they and other members of the Che Lumumba Club at that time had, I felt, the most viable ideology to deal with the whole question of black liberation. I've been around, you know, communists, people in the Communist Party for a very large period of my life. I was very young. So the first people I knew were black people who were members of the Communist Party.
So it's just the whole thing. My side said it that Huey was the epitome of the epitome of political prisoners. You know, which I could quite agree with, because you know, Huey, to me, represents the first political prisoner that I became aware of.
And see, the thing that was really disturbing about this, I mean, you know, it's really having repercussions all around the black left, you know, because the black left is really beginning to be disillusioned with the whole idea of coalitions with white people and so forth. I mean, like that article that Eldridge wrote in the Panther paper, where he said that unless the right left began to respond to, you know, to the repression that black people are facing in this country, then there's going to be a race war instead of a class war.
What kind of position do we take on this? Do we take the position that I think the Panthers are beginning to take more and more? That, you know, in terms of the white left, you know, you come along if you see what's going on. If you're really revolutionary, you come along with us. If not, we go on and fight our own battle without you. Without fighting against you.
You know, the problem is with that position, the end result will be that we'll all go down. That's the problem. But to make that your posture, wait a minute. What that does to you is that says you go ahead and don't do what you're supposed to do to the white left. What that does is, I think, is it allows them a cop-out. You know, you guys go and organize the white community, we'll organize the black community, but that's what you don't have to do anything. And they won't do anything.
I think you're wrong.
Then we got to do.
The point is not that white revolutionaries, quote unquote, don't see the necessity of defending the Panthers, of defending Bobby Seale, and, you know, making that the central point, because most of them say that. You know, that's the rhetoric. But what they haven't done is that they haven't translated that to the masses of the white students or the masses of white people that are demonstrating. Why has the peace movement been so successful in terms of mobilizing the masses of people? Because there's been an ongoing movement, you know, reaches into all kinds of different areas, you know, even to the liberal bourgeoisie with McCarthy and all of those people. And what we haven't been able to do, and what the left has not been able to do, is to build that kind of sustained movement around repression in this country.
So I think the point that Kendra is making, and I agree with her, is when you talk about a mass demonstration, a mass dramatization, you're talking about precisely that. It's supposed to be a dramatization of something else that's going on, a dramatization of a whole movement that's been built up. And you can't talk about those kinds of mass demonstrations as being a substitute for the real, you know, organizing work which has to take place in Parliament. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but see, that's
But please, you tell me. That's not my point. My position
that's what happened at City Hall.
Right.
Everything we did a fantastic job.
do it otherwise?
That in order, but see the point that I'm trying to make, in order for us to begin to give leadership to the white left, we've got to begin to talk about how you build that sustained movement. Make that
You win.
In the ghettos and the barrios in this country, we are killing people who are fighting for their own freedom. And finally, even in the universities, they are killing people. And they're not only killing people, but they're trying to kill ideas. Perhaps ideas scare them even more than people. And we have someone at the university who represents those ideas and who fights for them. And she's going to say a couple words to us right now. Angela?
Start off by saying that I don't feel very good today. I don't feel very good because I walked down those steps and I saw people screaming, jumping up and down, throwing frisbees when there's a war going on. And I just want to know, what were people out here celebrating? What is there to celebrate? These three young men, black men, walking into a silent courtroom, the only sound being heard is the rattling and clinging of those chains and locks. They're being charged with murder, with the murder of a white guard in Soledad prison. While their only crime was having attempted to organize the human beings inside Soledad prison to talk about liberation, to talk about revolution. They were the ones who were singled out to serve as examples to any and everyone in this country who dares stand up to resist. It was very difficult a short while ago to imagine that 3 weeks ago there were pigs on this campus attacking everybody they saw. A lot of things on the campus begin to break out of the prison called university. We have to understand that one of the ways in which repression is beginning to manifest itself more and more on the campus is all across the country is that concept, notions, which before belonged to the people to be used as critical tools, to be used as revolution, to be used to justify our justifiable rebellion, are now being used by the enemy.
Brothers and sisters are going to get killed on college campuses because they're demonstrating people. They weren't doing anything to their
the freedom to develop more efficient techniques of genocide. The freedom not to be bothered by human beings who see the necessity of ridding the campuses, ridding the country of that genocide by calling and demanding and making sure that all the Thailand projects are disbanded, by making sure that there's no longer credit given to ROTC. But you see, they call upon their academic freedom, which they use from doing anything about it. I suppose that perhaps we can talk about celebrating in order to try to make something called the denial of academic freedom. But how can anyone have academic freedom to kill and murder? How? So I'd like to end by saying that I hope that people on this campus realize that we have to fight. We cannot dance. We cannot throw frisbees. We have to start fighting. We have to start fighting back. Those three brothers in Soledad prison are fighting back
in their chains. We have to realize in our struggle that we can no longer separate what's going on, what's happening to Bobby Seale, and what's happening in Vietnam. The same war, what's happening on the campuses. And we must realize that if we do not seize the time, if we do not realize that the time is now, then the time will never come. So everybody who believes it and can say it and can fight for it, all power to the people.
Quiet, please. Sound rolling.
Action.
When we get to clap.
Oh, yes.
Good. And go in. Yeah, okay.
6, I think.
Okay, we were asking about the individual.
Right.
And see, what people have to start doing to build that collective spirit, to overcome that notion of bourgeois individuality, which separates the one person from the next and which defines the individual as someone who can assert himself at the expense of his neighbor, at the expense of his brother, by destroying his brother, by competing with him, and by holding him down. So what we have to begin to do is to realize that, for instance, what happened last Saturday when a young black man, a Vietnam War veteran, was shot 25 times by the pigs for no reason whatsoever. Everybody in the black community and all white people who consider themselves revolutionaries have to identify with him and to see their plight as being no different from his. And the fact that it could have been anybody who was shot down by those pigs that morning at 2 o'clock for no reason whatsoever. And we have to begin to react as if we were the ones who were struck down. We have to begin to react with that kind of collective spirit, the way in which the Vietnamese see things. If one Vietnamese is attacked, that is an attack on the entire Vietnamese people. And they come back with their wrath, with their revolutionary spirit, in order to see that particular person is avenged, in order to see that their struggle is carried out. And that means that you have to really overcome this whole idea of individual fulfillment, individual satisfaction. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You can't even pose before yourself the alternative of what am I going to do? Am I going to stay home and get high and have a good time tonight, or am I going out to try to rap with the people, to try to organize, to let them know what's going down? You don't have that alternative anymore. It has to be only one course, and that's the revolutionary course.
What did you say that when in Russia, where the revolution has taken place, and now it seems as if a new bourgeoisie is coming in?
There are a lot of problems in the Soviet Union. There are a lot of problems. So one of the things we have to realize that if we're serious in talking about communism, that has to be an international movement, an international phenomenon. We can never really have communism as long as there's one capitalist country left. We learn from the mistakes that have been made in the past. I mean, we learn from the problems that are being confronted in Cuba and China and the Soviet Union. But we don't talk about trying to export any revolution to this country, because our revolution has to be built on our experiences, our traditions, and has to be a part of our whole development. It has to be a spectrum. If we would talk about just importing some revolution from the Soviet Union or China or Cuba, then we would be completely negating the whole notion that communism is a way to freedom, because that means precisely the freedom to determine our own destiny.
Well, all I can say say is that I can't answer for the other 23 regions, but I can answer for myself. I'm a professional educator. She's simply an unqualified person to be a professor on a college. She doesn't even have a doctoral degree. The whole thing is ridiculous. That's my point of view.
She was appointed by the chairman of the department.
I don't care if she was appointed by the Pope. As a professional educator, I can tell you that she should not have been appointed because that's my job. Miss Davis simply doesn't qualify, you see, any more than my son would. I can't answer for the students because they have not seen fit to come to me and talk to me about her. Perhaps if they had, I would have changed my opinion. All I can judge is from the record.
I'm talking to you.
You are, yes, sir. But we're talking about hundreds of people now. And all I can do as a regent is to judge by the record. The record shows that she's unqualified. And I would say this, whether she were black, white, brown, or polka dotted. It makes no difference to me. The majority of the students that listened to Eldridge Cleaver lecture voted that he was qualified too, but he was a jailbird and a convicted rapist. We don't want people like that. I'm not suggesting that the present case is anywhere nearly comparable to that, but I'm simply saying that the fact that students rally to a currently popular person does not make that person a fit professor.
Didn't the Academic Senate vote to rehire her? And that they would
The Academic Senate did. Unfortunately, the Academic Senate doesn't hire people. We do. Unfortunately, they're not the ones who make the decision, are they?
I know, but...
So what are we arguing about?
But I know, but that shows that them as faculty members, and the Association of Faculty thought that she was a qualified
They did. They should therefore get on the regents. I, as one regent, studied the case and arrived at the opposite conclusion.
Yeah, but
this is all anybody can do. But I'm not here to take the opinion of the Academic Senate.
Yeah,
I'm here to reform my own judgment.
What about
That's what I did.
academic freedom?
What about academic freedom?
Academic freedom?
Abridgment of academic freedom, that you don't let an unqualified person become a professor at the taxpayer's salary? Come now, madam. You know better than that.
No, but the fact...
I would say that if she teaches at UCLA, it'll be in the same sense that a disembodied spirit teaches at UCLA. She won't get paid for it. She won't have any place to teach.
Regent Rafferty is abysmally misinformed about higher education. I've been a professor at UCLA for 21 years. I've been department chairman for the last 6. Almost no one whom we employ as a beginning faculty member has completed his PhD. Indeed, if we waited for a person to complete the PhD, we would miss all the first-rate candidates on the market. Now, for her qualifications, putting aside the degree which is not one of the qualifications we ask for at the best institutions in this country, Ms. Davis has a speaking command, not only a writing command, of 2 European languages. She graduated with honors from Brandeis. She studied in Europe with Professor Adorno, the most distinguished phenomenologist of the last decade, and she is writing her PhD under Professor Herbert Marcuse, one of the most distinguished philosophers of this century. Her academic qualifications are really outstanding.
Why didn't the regents rehire?
The faculty and the administration recommended her reappointment for a 2nd year. The regents prevented that reappointment. They took the decision into their own hands. Their statement is that her off-campus conduct was unprofessional. They never challenged her professional qualifications. In this sense, Rafferty's statements don't correspond to the written reasons of the regents. I think that their alleged grounds are not their real grounds, and the alleged grounds are indeed unconstitutional. It is my opinion that they fired her because she was a communist.
Item titled The Board of Regents and Professor Angela Davis. That is a copy of the faculty's resolution passed yesterday.
And the regents of the University of California have once more exhibited their unwavering commitment to transform the campuses into breeding grounds for reactionary politics and into instruments of political repression. It is becoming increasingly evident that they will utilize their dictatorial authority to unleash attacks against any and everyone involved in militant political activity. Repression comes in many forms. Protests over the murder of a 16-year-old black youth in an Augusta, Georgia jail are put down by killing 6 black men, all of whom are shot in the back. 2 black students are killed at Jackson State College. Their sole crime was participation in demonstrations against the war in Southeast Asia and against the killing of 4 white students at Kent State. Bobby Seale faces legal lynching by the state of Connecticut. 3 brothers in Soledad Prison are being threatened with a gas chamber on a trumped-up murder charge. All All these brothers have been persistent in their struggle for liberation. In this day and age, the ruling powers of the United States of America consider that a crime. I cannot separate my present plight from these more brutal forms of political repression. And as a black communist, I am committed to struggle on every level until we have wiped the earth clean of all the reactionary forces which suppress the just demands of the people. Thank you very much.
Aren't you afraid sometimes of losing your life?
Well, of course, anybody who's talking about, overthrowing the government, overthrowing capitalism, faces the possibility of losing his life. And that's something that you have to accept. You come to terms with that. You realize that may very well be an eventuality. But that doesn't paralyze you because you don't see your life, your individual life, as being so important that it outweighs the struggle that you have to carry out. I've given my life to the struggle. My life belongs to the struggle. If I have to lose my life in the struggle, well then, that's the way it will have to be. A hell of a lot of brothers and sisters have already given their lives for the struggle. very, very uptight about that. That's why we are out here today defending the three brothers in Soledad prison charged with a trumped-up murder charge. It was the fact that they had continually organized brothers, they had continually attempted to eradicate the terrible racial tension that exists in the prison. We have to realize also that we out here can be subjected to exactly the same kind of treatment. We can be ripped off on any kind of a charge. I want to get on to the business that we came here to do today. Jane Fonda ran down the fact that we really, really need money. And I really hope that you will give everything you can, keeping in mind that you are defending yourselves. You're defending yourselves, you're defending the struggle, you're defending the cause of liberation. So while the brothers and sisters are circulating in the crowd, I'd like to run down the demands that we, the Soledad Brothers Defense Committee, have formulated, which we think will be able to begin to deal effectively with what's happening in the prison. And we want to go over and let the Adult Authority and the Department of Corrections know that we are moving on this, that we will not stop until there are no more prisons except for those people that I was talking about before, except for the real criminals. So we will not stop until all political prisoners are free. Now what we want to do at this point is go over to the third floor and that building which is cat-a-corner to this building. I want to go in two lines, go up to the third floor where the Adult Authority is and make it known that we are initiating this movement now to eradicate those oppressive conditions in the prison and that we will not stop until we have won.
Okay, some of you that don't have signs, there's about 5 or 6 signs right here to your right. As you pass by, you can pick one up. Can you dig it?
My brother, free my comedy. Tall, evil, graceful, bright-eyed, black man-child. Courage in one hand, assault rifle in the other. He died on the trigger, scourge of the unrighteous. Soldier of the people, terrible man-child. All right, gentlemen, said Jonathan Peter Jackson, cold and calm. I'm taking over now.